After the first raids of the Night Riders, fear increased, and so did the raids. And so did their numbers. The Night Riders spread across western Kentucky, intimidating and forcing the farmers in as many communities as they could. And slowly, the violence increased. On the night of December 1st, 1906, the Night Riders came to the town, Princeton, Kentucky. They wore masks to hide their identities and took control of the town. The local citizens were helpless. They lit their torches and burned down tobacco factories, the largest tobacco factories in the world. The town of Hopkinsville was on alert. The raid at Princeton had the people expecting they were next. On January 4th, 1907, the community prepared. The militia, commanded by Major Erskine Birch Bassett, the police force, and armed citizens took to the streets awaiting the Night Riders. The mayor, Charles Meacham, received a warning saying the Night Riders were on their way. The town was prepared, but no Night Riders showed up. The Night Riders had their own motives. They had sent out the warning to see where and how the town of Hopkinsville prepared to defend their streets. They had also sent one of their own into Hopkinsville to get intel about the town's defenses. The Night Riders waited. In one failed attempt, they rode to the city limits, but turned away quickly at word of an armed militia waiting to ambush them. It was almost a full year before the Night Riders took Hopkinsville. On December 7th, 1907, after midnight, they hit the town unopposed. The masked riders took to foot and spread out across multiple streets. They divided up into groups and operated in military-style maneuvers. Any citizens out were all gathered up quickly. One group broke into the telephone building and cut the wires before any alarm could be made. While this was going on, a group of riders took over the police station, fire station, and train depot. The town became silent while under the control of the Night Riders. The violence had begun, but the riders were not done. The newspaper, The Kentuckian, was vandalized. A local man who bought from the Imperial Tobacco was taken from his house and beaten. A group of Night Riders headed to the tobacco warehouses. These warehouses were full of tobacco of farmers who didn't join the PPA. 3 warehouses burned. Another squad headed to the Latham warehouse and burned it. Another warehouse was being built and they burned it too. The fire blazed out of control. It burnt residential houses and rail cars. A railroad worker tried to save some boxcars but was shot in the back by the riders. The leader of the riders that night was accidentally wounded by his own men. After the riders were done with their destruction, they left the town while singing My Old Kentucky Home. Colonel Erskine Birch Bassett climbed out of the window of his house and made his way through the city gathering men. Once his numbers reached 11 total, they went in pursuit of the Night Riders, 6 on horseback and 5 in a carryall. They searched for the leader, presumed to be Dr. Amos, but didn't find him. They rode in front of the group and rejoined the other party. The Night Riders had split their group up. As the remainder of the group approached Colonel Bassett, they opened fire. 1 Night Rider was killed and 1 was wounded. After the incident concluded, Bassett was given control over military operations in the area. Men were alert and on patrol for any Night Rider activity. Hopkinsville was quiet for some time. On January 3rd, 1908, word reached Hopkinsville that a raid happened in Russellville by 55 masked men, and 2 tobacco factories were destroyed. With time passing and soldiers on guard, the Night Riders had left Hopkinsville alone. But other towns were not so lucky. In Dawson Springs, Kentucky, on January 25th, a man was dragged from his hotel room in the middle of the night. The Night Riders came from Caldwell County. They made their demand. They wanted J.W. Heath brought to them. They went to the Arcadia Hotel. Shots were fired, and the night riders demanded Mr. Heath to surrender. No one showed. The riders fired into the halls of the Arcadia Hotel. The owner of the hotel was not in town, but his wife was. Miss Holman came out to address the night riders. They demanded to know Mr. Heath's room, but Miss Holman denied them the information. They entered the hotel and made their way through the hallways, firing and yelling for Mr. Heath. The guests of the hotel were frightened and hid under beds to try and avoid being shot. One man opened his door to see what the commotion was, and the night riders fired on him. The bullet hit right above his head. The riders finally found Mr. Heath's room. "Come out, Mr. Heath. Dress yourself. We've got you now," they said. Heath came out. He was taken to the western part of town and whipped severely. The night riders told him he wouldn't be whipped again unless he continued to buy from people outside the PPA. The night riders forced 2 citizens to come and witness the whipping. They told Heath he had to publicly state that he bought 1,700 pounds of tobacco from Harp Mincer and paid $6 a hundred for it. And if he did not do so, they would treat him rougher than before. Heath promised he would obey. The event happened smoothly, with little resistance. The night riders were well organized and operated quickly. They were only in town for 25 minutes and were around 50 men strong. This was the first visit of the night riders in Hopkins County. J.W. Heath was accused of buying tobacco from Hart Mincer of Christian County, who grew tobacco outside the association and was an independent buyer. Mincer had also been taken out and whipped by the night riders. As time goes on, in the coming years, the night riders will continue to attack towns and farmers who do not join the PPA. They intend to force their will on those who do not comply, and their attacks get more and more violent. Don't forget to try out audibletrial.com/KYHistoryPod to get a free book of your choosing. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification button for more Kentucky history content. If you'd like to support the channel, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/KYHistoryPod. Find us on these social media platforms and check out the Kentucky History Podcast on these podcast platforms for more in-depth history of Kentucky. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.